也不是所谓是这些基础分钟，我们可以随时进行修文了。
All right, guys, I guess we will begin now. Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to Taylor's Lakeside Pre-Medical Club's very first event of our MedLight campaign. It's medical school for you. So my name is Emily,
And my name is Elisa.
and we will be your co-hosts for tonight's event. First of all, we would like to thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight, and we hope that by the end of this event, you will gain some further insight into what it's like being a medical student or doctor. So for tonight's event, we have invited a few medical students and a doctor who will be sharing their experiences and advice with you guys. During today's session, feel free to type any inquiries you have for the speakers in the Slido link, which we will send below in the chat box. Please type your questions there instead of the Zoom chat box, and there will be a Q&A session at the end of the event where our speakers are more than happy to address any of your concerns. Do note that if you are addressing the question to a particular speaker, remember to include their name while typing it into the Slido. So before we begin, I would like to remind everyone to please be respectful of all participants and speakers throughout the entire event. And moderators reserve the right to remove you from the event if any vulgarities are seen in the chat box. If you look at the chat box right about now, you should probably be able to see the housekeeping rules.
Do stay till the end of the event, as we will be sending out a feedback survey. Also, we will be having a photo section towards the end of the event. So to those who want to, feel free to turn on your cameras then. Now, we don't want to waste any more of your time, so it is our pleasure to introduce to you our very first speakers, Tracy Chula, a second-year medical student at the University of Nairobi. Hi, Chula. Hey, Tracy.
Hi, thank you for the introduction. Okay, let me share my slides. Okay, can everyone see my slides?
Yep, we can.
Okay, let me begin. Good evening, everyone. If you happen to be somewhere where the dusk has not kicked in yet, as I am here in Kenya, good afternoon. Before I begin, I would like to thank the organizers of this event for gracing me with the opportunity to speak to you all today. It is my honor and pleasure to do so. So without further ado, let us get into the introduction. My name is Tracy Chula, and I am 20 years old, originally from the sunny coast of Mombasa, Kenya, which is pictured in the bottom left picture of the slide displayed. And I currently reside in Nairobi, where I study at the University of Nairobi as a second-year medical student. For us to get a little accustomed to each other, I thought I would make the ambience a little lighter by telling you a bit more about myself. I truly enjoy writing and reading poetry during my free time as a hobby, and I personally think I am great at it. When I am free, I enjoy reading a novel or occasionally making art or spending time on my laptop watching a movie or a series. An interesting fact about me is that I lived in South Africa for part of my childhood, and in a way, South Africa will always feel like home. So, why did I choose medicine? What influenced my decision? This is a question I've gotten on multiple occasions from different people, and which possibly one of you seated here today would like to know. I've illustrated the answer in the slide displayed, but allow me to elaborate further so that you can get the picture. As little as 5 years old, I was asked the typical, "What would you like to be when you grow up?" question. Without a single thought nor doubt, I splurged out doctor. To be honest, it shocked me how fast this response came out of my mouth. Considering how honorable and prestigious the career is deemed to be, the adults around me at the time were all very pleased by this answer. As the years passed by, I kept asking myself the same question, and the only answer that would pop into my mind every single time was doctor. Almost as if God had ingrained it in my very being and keyed it in my mind from the very beginning. According to his will, it was meant to be. Despite the apparent outcome of me pursuing that childhood dream, I did begin to question it and have a few doubts through my high school years, especially through years 9 to 11, where making a career choice is a crucial step in choosing your subjects and ultimately choosing what to focus your energy on. Because of this doubt, I took it upon myself to do my research in order for me to ascertain that this career path was the one for me. Following the research, I became very intrigued in pursuing medicine and even realized that I had a passion for it as I began reading medical articles and researching medicine related topics during my free time. In year 10, I took up economics as a subject and shortly realized I was very passionate about it as well as excelled at it. Our career counselor at the time made me aware how important it is to have a backup plan just in case your plan A career choice does not go according to plan. Therefore, given that economics was the other thing that I was very passionate about, I decided that studying economics would be set as my backup plan while praying very hard that I wouldn't have to put it in place. With that said, my advice to anyone who's seeking to study medicine, and any course, not just medicine, would be to ensure that you have a backup plan in place, more than one if need be. In addition, through my junior and senior high school years, I realized that I had a great stronghold on sciences, and my teachers all encouraged me to enter into the medical field because of it. Not to blow my own horn, but I was particularly very good at biology, and especially through my AS and A-level years, and so that gave me the confidence that I would be able to manage medicine in one way or another. As a child, when you're asked the typical, "What would you like to be?" question, and you respond with "doctor," the adults asking usually leave it at that. As you grow older, the follow-up question, "What type of doctor?" is inevitable. My answer to this question was always pediatrician, as I've always loved children and would enjoy helping them in any way that I can. During my first year of med school, I have done a lot of research on various topics as I have been open about allowing my specialty to change according to my change of interest during the course of time. Of recent, I have taken a great interest in obstetrics and gynecology, and so I'm currently leaving pediatrics and OB-GYN as possible specialties. I know I still have ample time in the future to decide which one is truly for me. Moving on to the burning question of the hour. Is medicine for you? Who should consider studying medicine in the near future, and who should consider Who should consider studying medicine in the near future, and who should consider venturing into someone else? Let's begin with those who wouldn't be likely candidates for a medical career. Being in the medical career involves stressful and demanding work, and thus requires one to be fully prepared to take on the hard work as well as have good work ethic. According to Georgia Piedmont Technical College, 10 good work ethic traits include appearance, attendance, attitude, character, communication, cooperation, organizational skills, productivity, respect, and teamwork. I believe all these are pretty self-explanatory, so before deciding to embark on a medical journey, ask yourself if you possess some or any of these traits. If you do, I believe you're on the right path and can achieve greatness. If you lack in any or all, then maybe consider something else. Alternatively, if you're really determined to do medicine, then consider grooming the aforementioned traits into your character. However, note that not only medicine requires good work ethic, many other several careers do, so it is always good to have it. The next one is a famous one that anyone, not only people in the medical field, can tell you for free. If you cannot handle blood, pus, wounds, and any other aspects of human casualty, then being in the medical field is not a good fit for you. At some point in your career, you will be interacting with this, so it is truly unavoidable. Another thing is being able to handle working with dead bodies, for example, cadavers, not just freshly deceased bodies. In your first year of medicine school, anatomy is an absolutely essential unit in any med school across the world. One thing that is standard in the world over is working with dead bodies, otherwise known as cadavers, which are science specimens used for the purpose of education. Whether it is through dissections or cross-sections, working with them is inevitable, and hence you need to be mentally prepared for that beforehand. It is okay to be a little scared before. We are human, and I would be lying if I said I had a tough skin from the very beginning. However, I am here to assure you, after the first few times, it does get better, and you get very used to it. If you find yourself shriveling and cannot even bring yourself to the thought of it, then possibly consider a different career path. Furthermore, if interacting with people constantly is not your thing, then a medical career may not necessarily be for you. Being a physician requires you to constantly communicate with others, be it from patients to patients' family, from nurses to colleagues. So it definitely requires a lot of communication. And if this does not sound all right to you, then it may be time to consider something else. Finally, and this is a big one, do not, and I repeat, do not get into med school simply because you have pressure from external sources. This pressure could come from family members, mentors, role models, etc. The hard pill to swallow is that medical school is just the beginning of a lengthy, arduous journey to a more difficult job role. Not everyone can become a doctor, right? Even if you have the best grades, the matter of fact is that if the choice did not come from you, you are unlikely to enjoy med school and may even become depressed by all the pressures that are on you and that you may have to face on a daily. So please, please let no one convince you to do medicine if you truly do not want to. It does not matter how many Grey's Anatomy or New Amsterdam episodes you have watched, it is not as glamorous as it is on TV. In fact, what motivates many medical students to keep going is their passion for their career. Just follow your heart and do what is truly meant for you. In retrospect, those who definitely should go for a shot at med school are more or less people that contrast the aforementioned points. That is, people who are genuinely passionate about the career, because from experience, passion fuels dedication, and that is what will keep you going in this long journey. Medical students also definitely need to be hard workers who possess key life skills like responsibility, resilience, perseverance, etc. So then, what is the transition from high school to med school like? Transition from high school to any university should be a completely new world to any student. From a personal account, I would definitely say that you should expect the unexpected. Be it assignments, tasks, personal encounters, and experiences, nothing is the same as it used to be in secondary. Unlike in high school, no one is there to constantly follow up on your learning and progress. Learning is mostly self-directed, and a lot of studying and grasping of concepts comes from personal effort. If you are transitioning from A levels, it should not be too bad, considering A level is more or less pre-university, so you get accustomed to the work habits expected in university beforehand. Depending on the med school you enroll to, this transition may or may not be smooth. What do I mean by this? In my university, I found the transition more or less smooth because senior students and student leaders were very helpful from the get-go, and I noticed that there's a lot of comradeship and unity. This may be different in other med schools though. And as you progress to med school, there's an increasing need for discipline and work and behaviors, as well as it being essential to have good time management skills. What does a typical day of a med student look like? Just a disclaimer that this may vary depending on the year of study you are in. Some years are clinical, and because I am in a preclinical year, my day usually begins when I wake up at around 7 a.m. every day, sometimes at 6 or 5, depending if I'm studying for an exam or I generally want to catch up with my studies. If I have an 8 a.m. class, which I usually do, I would freshen up and take breakfast. Breakfast is truly the most important meal of the day, and trust me when I say you do not want to attend class before you take breakfast. Your concentration is most likely to waver. Thereafter, I attend all my morning sessions or lab practicals before going on to have a lunch break. Lunch period is where I relax my mind a little and possibly catch up with friends. Following that is more classes, depending on my schedule. Evenings for me are for studying and or completing any assignments before I finally get to call it a day. Remember, sleep is also extremely important, and you should aim to get at least 7 hours of sleep a night. People tend to have the misconception that med students are always working and barely sleep, but the truth is a good night's sleep makes you more productive during the day. The next slide is more or less self-explanatory, so I'll allow a few seconds for you to internalize it before I proceed to the next. The picture inserted in the slide is funny, but quite accurate about the life of a med student. Before I proceed, I would like to include that even though med school is tiring, it's less burdensome when you successfully juggle your personal life with your studying life. Mental breakdowns are common and warranted, so never beat yourself up over it. Allow it. You are only human. Okay, I think everyone has read the slide, so let me just move on. Finally, my advice to all of you. First, make sure you do your research before joining med school. This is a big one because it will definitely let you know whether you should go ahead and apply. So do online research, ask people you know who are in med school, ask doctors, etc. The next set of advice applies once you have joined med school. For starters, whenever you are revising any sort of content, ensure you are always studying relevant material. This will save you a lot of time and effort. To help you do this, use the need to know, good to know, nice to know method. To elaborate on this, the need to know refers to information that you cannot afford to not know and that are absolutely essential and absolutely examinable. The good to know refers to those pieces of information that aid you to understand the need to know, and it may or may not be essential and also may or may not be examinable. The nice to know information refers to knowledge that is good to keep as general knowledge, but it is not examinable. Next, for any exam or assessment, ensure that you are aware what the exam entails and hence requires you to know so that it will allow you to adequately prepare. For example, if the assessment is going to test particular topics, ensure you know what these topics are so that you do not stray off your topics in your studying. Never aim for average in any test or assessment that you do. Shoot for the moon so that if you fall, you're still at the stars. If you do not already know, learn what type of learner you are so you practice study methods that allow you to retain the most information. For example, if you're a visual learner like me, don't waste too much time on reading text, but rather invest time in watching videos, making mind maps, looking at illustrations, etc. It would also be great to have a weekly schedule for everything you need to do so that you can manage and utilize the time that you have well. In this schedule, ensure you include specific study times so that you are constantly studying and not waiting until the exam for you to do so. This aims in information retention, and greater performance in the long run. Another big thing that is tremendous help in med school is having a small, focused study group. By small, I refer to around 2 to 4 people. Trust me when I say my study group was one of my biggest help during my exams. As I mentioned earlier, med school is not a solo journey. There is a spirit of comradeship. Lastly, do not enjoy to have a life outside of med school. If need be, dedicate a specific day for hanging out with loved ones or have personal time doing things that you enjoy. That is all for me today. I hope you've all been enriched by my talk, and I wish you all the very best in your future endeavors. God bless.
All right, thank you, Tracy, for your insightful words. You can stop sharing your screen. So just to remind the participants, you can ask any questions in the Slido that will be in the chat. So moderators, you can send the Slido link again for those who have joined later. So now, without further ado, let's welcome our next speaker, Dr. Varvani, who is currently a doctor working at Tudor District Hospital, Mombasa. So Dr. Varvani, you can share your screen and begin.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Are you hearing?
Yeah, yes, we can hear.
Okay, first of all, a big thank you to everyone for showing up and being a part of this wonderful online session. Also, thank you to the organizers for providing us with this platform. I really hope to inspire each and every one of us here today. So my name is Dr. Hussein Varvani. I received my Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery from University of Nairobi in 2016. It's the same university that Tracy is in currently. We are both actually from Mombasa. She's also from Mombasa. So I feel after my degree, I did my internship at Coast General Teaching and Referral Hospital in 2017. That's the second largest referral hospital in Kenya. After which I moved to Tudor Hospital and then to the Mombasa County COVID Isolation Center over the past 2 years as a medical officer now. So this is basically the career pathway that I hope and I think many of the medical students hope to, undertake. From medical student, then passing their exams, then becoming interns, and then working as a medical officer. After which, going for a master's, and then consulting eventually. So, medicine as a career, it's a career that's nothing short of demanding. A job that requires, intense schooling, constant training, very chaotic schedules sometimes, not to mention a heavy dose of, tenacity and patience. So then people, start wondering like, why did you, do medicine? But I think the benefits here are so much that, yeah, I think it's something really wonderful, to be honest. When you have a positive impact on most people's lives, like, improving the lives of your patients, it's really hugely satisfying and rewarding. Then, the work also that we do on a day-to-day basis, it's, very stimulating. in whichever area of medicine, one has specialized in, doctors tend to find the day full of engaging and interesting cases. Then another thing that made me actually go for medicine is career progression. Like, the great thing about medicine, it opens doors everywhere. Subspecialties, the subspecialties, as well as the, vast knowledge. It's, so much that there's always room for, progression and improvement. Then the employment rate as well, it's usually very high for a graduate, especially in medicine, the job market currently is very, very competitive, but having a medical degree is actually a safe and, vocational option, as medical practitioners are always, always in demand. Then transitioning, the transitioning from high school to med school, that's the most important and challenging chapter in one's, life as a medic. Students must adapt to the different changes that come from this, from the high school to medical school, especially the style of learning. They have to adapt financial responsibility as well during these times, and also at the same time, developing social and personal independence. Like, a lot will depend on how you utilize your time, especially, if discipline and all that plays a very, very big role, especially now when you're transitioning. So, a day in the life of a doctor. Sir William Osler once said, medicine is a science of uncertainty and an art of probability. William Osler was one of the founders of John Hopkins Hospital. So, this statement actually sums up how I would say that my life is right now. Of course, there's no such thing as, a typical day in the life of a doctor, because every day you just encounter new cases, new things, new information, and new patients. So it's all about, evolving every day with whatever is happening, and finding out the new things that the journey of being a doctor has to offer. Like, even today, like just in the morning, before I'd even woken up, I received a call from the hospital saying that I need to go for an emergency cesarean section. So you see, there was not even part of the plan that I had for today, but just because it's an emergency, it had to happen. So no 2 days will ever be the same. It's just about, new experiences every day. So my advice to all of you people out here right now, those who are aspiring to become doctors, as well as, those who are already in the process of becoming doctors, success, it doesn't just happen overnight. You have to, put in the work right now. Then is when you'll surely, benefit from the fruits a few years later and all that. Also, you need to be very disciplined. You need to manage your time and resources very well. Smart reading also, no one person can know everything. So the way you have to, read things that are very important, and those that are not important, you can, maybe just know a little about them, but try and make sure you know everything, And then, study groups do help a lot, especially as you're doing your undergraduate studies. Like a lot of study groups, they keep on popping up, especially with different groups and all that. So they really help as well. I just like undergrads, especially. It's only the beginning now. All right, thank you, everyone.
All
Back
right.
to the moderator.
Yeah, yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Dr. Varani. Okay, so now guys, we have the moderator. Dr. Varani, can you stop sharing your screen? Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we will have some break times, which meanwhile you all can have drink some water or go to toilet, and we'll have some break time. So, and if you got any questions, you all can feel free to fill in your questions in the slider link we already provide in the chat box. So thank you.
All right, so we are gonna have a mini Q&A session first with Tracy and Dr. Varvani. So if moderator, you could share your screen so we can see the Slido. Yeah, okay. So first question to Tracy, how many hours a day do you usually study?
Let me approximate because I'm not sure, but I would say 4 to 6 hours a day, minus obviously attending classes. But on a weekend, I like to dedicate at least 4 hours of studying.
Okay, so thank you, Tracy. And also, I saw a very interesting questions. So, Tracy, also, how are the classes? Because due to the pandemic, you are not able to attend practical classes. So, do you understand everything taught online?
Actually, we have blended learning in our university. So we only do online for theory lessons. And then for the practical sessions, like labs, we go to school. So it hasn't really affected us much because the practical helps you to apply what you've learned in the theory. But otherwise, I feel like if anything, online learning has been very good for me because there's like recordings and you can go back and watch the recordings and like it's more of a personal experience. Like you can put your earphones in and hear rather than being in a lecture hall and you're struggling to hear. And yeah.
All right, so next question is directed to Dr. Varvani. Do you think, like, is the path to becoming a doctor and a surgeon, does it have a big difference? Like, being a doctor and being a surgeon, is it the same thing or not?
Okay, thank you for that question. Okay, the path to becoming a doctor and a surgeon, it's almost the same thing, because first you need to do your undergrad, where you also learn a bit of surgery, where the basic surgeries like cesarean sections, appendix operations. These are basic surgeries that you will learn in your undergraduate, and you need to perform also when you're a medical officer. But now when you become a specialized surgeon, that's when you go into the subspecialties, cardiothoracic surgeries, urology, So basically, the most important foundation, the basic education, it's most similar. But after that is when you subspecialize and become a surgeon.
Actually, I have a follow-up question to that. So, like, what exactly gave you, like, what factors did you consider when you chose your own specialty?
So you see, okay, for you people, I mean, for undergraduates especially, it's too early to decide whether you want to become a surgeon or you want to become a physician or maybe an anesthetist. It's really too early. But once you start practicing, once you become a medical officer, and you experience the different aspects of the medicine itself, and when you rotate in the different specialties is when I think you can decide now that you're more interested in becoming a gynecologist rather than maybe a physician.
All right, thank you for that response. Alyssa, you can go next.
Okay, so thank you. So Dr. Warwani, do you think being a doctor is worth it after years of school and since you are working for years, right? And have you ever regretted your decision?
Thank you. No. To be honest, I haven't regretted that decision one bit. It's to be honest, it's the most amazing thing and up to now, years down the line, I'm sure I'm gonna sit down and think about it, and I'll still say that it's the best decision I ever made in my life. Because being a doctor, it just becomes part of your everyday life that you just love it. It's just amazing.
Okay, thanks. I can see your passion of being a doctor. Okay, so Emily, do you have anything want to follow up?
Okay, I actually saw one question that I'm also curious on. So this one is directed to Tracy. It says, what is your preparation for the application to med school? So like, are there any extracurricular requirements to like get into med school? And do you have any tips for us on how we can make our med school application stand out?
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure about your application process wherever you are, but for us, it was pretty straightforward. It wasn't like I know in other med schools, they would require you to write a personal statement or write an essay. But for us, it was pretty straightforward. I applied through an online portal, and to make my application seem a bit better, I had done throughout my AS and A levels, I had done a lot of internships in hospitals as part of our career department. And so I applied all those I had certificates from the hospitals that I worked in, and I applied all of those. And then so that it showed that I had a lot of experience and dedication. And then obviously your grades play a big factor to it. But apart from grades, maybe do other extracurriculars about arts or creativity, just to show that you are more than brains, that you're also co-curricular, like extravagant. So yeah, I think that would help. But for us, it was pretty straightforward. It was the grades that helped me, the work experience, and more or less that. I was called and asked a few questions. But that was about it. And they were pretty straightforward questions, general questions, just like, oh, why would you want to join med school, blah, 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 stuff like that. It was really just so general and so random that I can't categorize it. But apart from that, it wasn't that hard to get in for me. But that was just my experience. I know for other people, it might be different or more difficult. But for me, I feel like it was pretty straightforward.
Okay, so actually I'm actually curious about one thing, because like many people say that in order to get into medicine, you usually need like biochemistry, physics, like the three sciences and maths to like get in. But then like, is it true that you actually need all four of these subjects coming from experience?
No, it's not true. In my A levels, I did biology, I did chemistry, and I did maths. I did not do physics. I have never liked physics, so I dropped it from year 10 and never did it. So yes, I only did those three subjects, and those were enough to get me in. So I do not think you have to do all three sciences. Definitely biology has to be a must, and definitely chemistry has to be a must. But between maths and physics, you could choose either or both. It's really your option.
Right, so participants, if you do not take like physics, don't have to worry because you can still get into med school. All right, Alyssa, you can continue with the next question.
Okay, so to Dr. Varvani, can you share your experience when you're being a doctor? So have you ever encountered any rude patients while working in the hospitals? Yeah. Can you share us your experience?
Yeah, sure. You see, just like people, even patients, like they can be rude at times because there's a lot of things going on in their mind, and we don't know what's wrong with them. So people just come, and yeah, you might encounter rude patients once in a while. I think the best way is just to be calm and talk it out with them, because at the end of the day, medicine, I mean, it's the special thing about medicine and what makes it different from maybe say, engineering is you're interacting and you're dealing with people. And in engineering, you might be doing the roads or maybe buildings. So you see, like medicine, it's person to person. So the way you interact with your fellow human beings, that tells a lot about yourself and the kind of person you are. So I believe that, I mean, if you ever encounter a rude patient, it's best, just talk it out with them and, help them.
Okay, thank you. So I have a follow-up question. So actually, since like you face encountered rude patients, so like, do you have like the favorite moments or your favorite memories when you are working as a doctor or what?
Okay, like to be honest, from the time I started practicing and up to now, this is like almost now 4 years. I've had really, really good, memories of so many patients, that at the end of the day, some will bring you gifts once you treat them, and most will even, call you maybe years down the line to thank you still that you treated their parents or maybe a sibling. So to be honest, like over these years, it's just that you even lose count of what's happening, because every day it's always about good things, good things. So yeah, the good memories are just a lot, man.
All right, so I see a question directed to Tracy. They asked, how is the University of Nairobi? Is it hard to get into?
I think that question is, I don't know, it's based on personal opinion because, okay, in Kenya, it is the best medical university. So there is a lot of competition to get in, as you can imagine. And how do I say it? And there's like two different divisions. There's the government-sponsored kids, and then there's the self-sponsored children. So that like there's a different application process for both of them. So I don't know how it is for the government-sponsored students because I am a self-sponsored student. So I'd say for the self-sponsored student, it wasn't so difficult to get in, but there is a lot of competition because I guess for self-sponsored students, it's you proving yourself. Like for government-sponsored students in our university, it is like students who were the top in their exams in the government system, which is called 844. So they were at the top and they have like almost like a guaranteed chance of getting in. But for self-sponsored, it's more about like trying to prove yourself to get in. So it was a bit difficult, but I mean, we made it. And I believe anyone can make it. And if you don't try and get in the first try, you should just try again. Because I mean, if you feel like you truly have a chance, try again and try again and try again until you get it. I mean, I know many people who have tried more than one time to get in. So I don't think it's that hard to get in.
So actually, just curious, did you already have the university that you wanted to go? Like, were you already fixated on going to the University of Nairobi, or did you have like your options open and applied to like many med schools?
Okay, so I actually applied to 2 med schools, and University of Nairobi was my second and last option. And I got into both, thank God. I applied to the University of Cape Town in South Africa, because as I told you, I grew up in South Africa. So I have kind of like a calling to the country. It's just home. And so I applied to it and I got accepted. And I also applied to University of Nairobi and I got accepted. But the University of Cape Town was more expensive. And at the time, I was not very good financially. And so naturally, I drew towards the University of Nairobi. But I do not regret my decision because I'm genuinely happy at the university, and I'm happy with the education that I'm getting there.
All right, thank you for that response, Tracy. Should we continue with more questions?
I think we can have last questions. So for Tracy also, I just want to ask, do you have time to hang out with friends with the busy schedule?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
My schedule is not like, okay, it is busy, but it is not like jam-packed where I don't even have a bit of time to hang out with friends. In fact, I dedicate my whole Sundays off. I don't do anything. I just hang out with friends or just do something I want to do. I just give myself that time off, you know, so like my brain can get a break mentally from all the studying and everything. And once I start Monday, I'm starting on a clean slate and I'm starting afresh with a fresh mind.
Okay, thank you. I think we can move on to the next speakers.
All right, so I would like to welcome our third speaker, Agnes Lim. She is a third-year medical student who is currently studying in our very own Taylor's University. So Agnes, you can share your screen and begin your talk.
Okay, give me 1 minute. Okay, guys, see my screen.
I see a black screen. Alyssa, can you see?
Yeah, not really. I see a blank also.
Okay, yeah, can see already.
Yeah, we can see now.
Make sure
What do you see?
screen.
See something about you and a photo of you.
I can't present it, sorry. Okay. Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Agnes. And first of all, I would like to thank Taylor's Pre-Medical Club for having me here today. And thank you for giving me this chance to know you guys here. So yeah, hi, I'm Agnes, and I'm a third-year medical student from Taylor's University, which is the uni you are currently studying in now. Okay, so I'm 20 this year, and I'm from Kluang, Johor. So if any of you happen to drop by Kluang, I can bring you guys around and have some nice food. Yeah. Okay, so first question is, why did I choose to pursue medicine? For this question, I want to share a bit about my father. My father, no, he's not a doctor. He's just a normal businessman, but he's very famous for his character. He's a very kind, very generous, humorous, and helpful man, and he's kind of like famous for it. And I remember there was this incident where I was in the MRT in KL, and there happened to be two aunties who also happened to be from Kluang also. So we got to talk a bit, and they were like praising my dad all the way we were in the MRT. And I was really proud of my dad. Okay, so wait, sorry, back to the question. So my dad have this motto in life that is, be kind, be helpful. Life is much more when you reach out to others. And with this motto, my dad always, he want my brother and I to work for the community, right? He want us to help people, to serve the community. So when I was about to choose my the course for my degree, I was thinking like, what should I study? I think I'm not good at anything. And then my dad told me, how about becoming a doctor? Then I was like, huh? Doctor? Are you sure? Me? Studying medicine? How can I enter med school? And even if I enter med school, I don't think I can graduate. And even if I manage to graduate, am I capable of holding someone's life in my own hand? You know, like to fight with time so that my patients don't die. And I was like, huh, where can? I cannot do that. And then my dad said, who says you need to deal with death every day? You can also welcome life. Isn't that a very pleasant, a very great job to do? And I was like, oh yeah, I can study gynae. So that's when I start to realize that medicine is actually quite a very fulfilling job and a very pleasant one to do. And then I started to look into it and I realized it's actually quite a nice occupation, I would say. Yeah. And with that being said, I believe some of you here might be very conscious of yourself. You might think, am I really suitable to become a doctor in the future? I was also very unsure, very uncertain of myself previously last time, but I believe everyone here is suitable for it. I mean, if you really want it, if you really want to want it to happen, you really want to become a doctor, I believe everyone here can make it happen. But you have to bear in mind that it's not a very easy job. It's not a very easy journey, I would say. You need to be prepared for sleepless nights, not those nights where you lie down and you cannot sleep kind of sleepless night, but more of like you have so much to do, so much to study, you don't have time for you to sleep kind of sleepless night. Yeah, and then you also have to be tenacious. You have to be really diligent with your study and to be really self-disciplined. Yeah, and I think you need to know how to prioritize your life properly, lah. Like what you want, and like the fun. You have to balance having fun and studying at the same time. And also, I think for people who are, you also need to have a very strong heart, because for me and my classmates, we got criticized quite a lot, quite frequent, because there are still a lot of stuff that we don't know. We need to be really humble and learn everything. Even if you get scolded, don't feel down. It's part of the process of learning, of going to become stronger. Yeah, so you have to have a really strong heart. And also, for a lot of my friends, they used to ace in all their exams, like all of it from primary, secondary until college. But when they enter med school, that's when their grade starts to go down in a very steep gradient, and they would feel like start to feel like they are not suitable to do this. Yeah, but you have to tell yourself, um, this is not the only test that will determine you. You can work harder in the future so that you ace in other tests. Yes. And I would like to share about my transition from my phase 1 to phase 2, which is the theoretical phase to clinical phase, since I believe our other speakers have talked about that transition from high school to med school. So I'll talk about theory phase to clinical phase. So in case you don't know, med school is divided into two phases, which starts from the theory phase first, and once you finish your theory phase, then you go to clinical phase. For me, I think theory phase, it's more of like a spoon feeding type, because you only have to study your lecture notes and you have to just look through whatever your lecturer give you externally. So everything is like you know what you have to do, and you know that once you complete everything in the list, then you are already okay with everything. But in clinical phase, that's not the case. For clinical phase, you need to reach out your own hand to gain the knowledge yourself, because there's no more spoon feeding for you. The doctors would just bombard us with lots of questions, and we are kind of like expected to answer him, because because they're supposed to prepare ourselves for it. And yes, and I believe there will be times if you guys will be in med school in the future, and I believe everyone will face this problem. So just try to overcome it. And next is a day in my life as a medical student. So this was when I was in my theory phase, phase 1. Like what we do is we study microbiology, anatomy, and all this, and then we look at slides, histology, and we also do clinical skills. So from this picture, this is clinical skills of the nervous system. This is histology, and this is all histology, and this is me performing some dripping. Okay. And this is blood test. So usually our class starts at early morning, say like 8 a.m. We go to the lab and we attend lab sessions, and then we attend 2 more classes before we have our lunch break. And after lunch break in the noon, it's either clinical skills or lectures. But due to the COVID situation, our schedule changed a bit. All our CSS became like it was changed to become online. Yeah, so we actually missed out quite some chances to practice our hands-on ourselves. But luckily, our doctor was very good. When the situation was a bit better, we were able to go back to the school and to learn back everything that we missed out. Yeah, and then this is my clinical phase. So this is my online learning session. This is actually a picture from my blog. Oh yeah, I take blogs. So if anyone is interested to have a look at Taylor's medical students, course, you can have a look at my blogs. It's on YouTube, Technology, AGNOLOGY. Sorry for advertising here. Okay. And these are suturing materials, the kidney trays, syringes, povidone, and all these forceps and scissors. And then this is our doctor. Because I'm in surgery posting currently, and for my posting, we can't go to hospital. So what we do is we invite patient to the school, and then we clock the patient and we do some examinations on him to get the history, and then we write our case report. But then for my friends who are in the gynecology posting and in internal medicine posting, they get to go to hospital. So yeah, so in a few weeks time, I will also be going to the hospital. Yes. And for my schedule now, I have to wake up at 7 a.m. to clock patient. If it's 7 a.m. session, it usually ends around 8 a.m. And then we have to see when the doctor is free to have classes with us, because it's a bit different in clinical phase. Our doctor, not all of them are part-time. So we need to arrange our time with the doctor before every session. And because our lecturers are also doctors in other hospitals, they might have emergencies suddenly. So classes might be cancelled suddenly or move forward suddenly. So this is the clinical phase. And if usually we need to be on call from 6 to 9 p.m. We take turn to be on call at the hospital. If we are at the hospital, we have to be on call from 6 to 9. Yeah. And okay, so what we do from 6 to 9 is we can clock patients. We can follow some doctors around and learn some new skills. Oh, like I've mentioned just now, we clock our patient at 7, right? So if we are going to the hospital, we need to be there by 7, and then we clock our patient in the hospital itself. And then what it's like studying medicine. I believe everyone knows that medicine is stressful. Yes, it's very stressful. And it's a very heavy workload, but yeah, I think everyone here can do it. Yes. Yeah, last it's about my advice on balancing life. So I will talk about the study first. I think it's very helpful if you revise what you learn on that day itself, to go through everything, because you might forget some stuff that the doctor mentioned on that day. But if you revise the lecture straight on that day itself, it helps to retain the memory. And also, if you drag your lectures every day, or you won't be able to catch up on, because it takes longer time if you need to revise back on the lecture that was taught last week. So yeah, that's a lesson I learned myself. It's not something very good, and I learned it the hard way. So because I've been through that, I would tell you guys to revise on your lectures on the very same day that the lecture was taught. And next is, I think it's quite important to have friends, whether friends who are from who study medicine, or like just any friends. I believe friends, they give a lot of support, because for me, right, whenever I feel stressful, I find my friend to eat food, to go and drink some bobas, and it relaxes me. Or when I'm really stressed out or having exams, my friend would send me food, which gives me the motivation to to study better, to be more energetic to study. Yeah, so make a lot of friends. And also third, it's to experience life, because life is not just all about studying. And um, if you are a uni student, you actually get a lot of opportunities to do a lot of stuff. For example, join clubs. For me, I joined Chinese Society, and I think that through joining clubs, I actually learn a lot. I get to experience a lot of stuff that normally a medical student can't have. For example, I learned to record podcasts, I learned to act, I learned to do a lot of various stuff, to organize events. So I think it's quite a great opportunity for uni students to be a part of that. And yeah, last, it's, yeah, don't make friends, live a life. Life is not all about studying only. Yes, and even if you study with your friends together, it feels better. You know that someone is there together with you, to strive towards the same goal. It feels less of a torture. Yeah, that's all. Thank you. So because I'm from Taylor's, so if you guys are interested in medicine from Taylor's, you can actually ask me questions.
All right. All right. Thank you, Agnes. Wow. Okay, so sorry for the inconvenience. One of our speakers, Jerry, due to unforeseen circumstances, he isn't able to attend this talk. So there are only 3 speakers for today, and we are so sorry about that. Okay, so guys, I'm sure you learned a lot in today's sections. Now, before we get into the Q&A section, we will be having a quick photo session. So can all moderators, speakers, and participants please turn on your cameras? We will take a group photo now. Yeah, just a quick photo section. Guys. Okay, I saw some of us are opening.
Anyone can turn on their cameras.
Yeah, anyone also can. Okay.
Please don't be shy.
It's okay, it's okay.
Don't worry, guys. You can just on your cameras for like 5 seconds and then off.
Yeah, we will just do a very quick photo section. Dr. Varvani, can you please open your cam?
Okay, I think he's gone for a bit. So we start with the first page. Stay tuned. Okay. So 3, 2, 1. Okay. Oh, he's back. Okay, let's do that again. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Cheers. Okay, let's go to the second page. Okay, we're done.
All right, so actually just now in the chat, someone said, share please, Agnes, your vlog. Maybe you can link it down in the chat box since everyone like is curious about that. So I'm curious too, I want to watch it.
Emily, can I share you the link and then you
Yeah,
oh. I'm a bit shy. Okay.
Somebody said Emily is cute.
Thank you, Emily. Emily is cute also. Oh, you guys are so sweet. I mean, like, if you guys have any question, you can ask me. If you guys are interested in Taylor's medical course.
oh yeah, guys, and also if you have any questions for Agnes, do put it in the Slido link. Agnes, I can share the link in the chat, right?
Yeah, just can. Oh, she said for WhatsApp group. Okay.
All right, that's the link.
The videos are for the phase 1 only. Yeah, which is the theory phase. I haven't uploaded the clinical phase. So you guys can have a look at Taylor's course first for the theory phase.
Right, so moderator can share screen, then we will continue with the Q&A session. Right. Oh, Agnes, I just saw a very interesting question. Do you think having a love life will affect in your studies?
I think it's still fine if you know how to compromise, and if you have a self-discipline, you know how to arrange your time. Because actually, I think having a love life actually decreases your stress level, and it actually makes your life not so miserable. You know, like to have someone there to support you all the time. But as long as you don't get too carried away by it, I think it's actually something very good. And I think at your age, it's kind of sweet to find a boyfriend, girlfriend, and have a very sweet relationship.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you, Agnes. So are you editing the YouTube video on your own?
Yeah, I did the video on my own for fun when I have time.
Okay. So like will you write your own notes after the medical class? Like, because I think that the lecture notes is enough and is thick also. Yeah. So will you still write own notes?
For phase 1, I write all my notes. But what I will do is I study the lecture note and then I write my own notes from what I remember. It's better that way because if you have to study, if it will before the exam, right, you don't have enough time to study all the lecture notes because it will be like this whole stack of papers. You won't have enough time to study it. So when you have time after every class, you try to squeeze everything into one paper so that before the exam, you look through that paper and get all the information in your head. It's better that way.
All right, thank you, Agnes. So I'm just gonna read out one question that is pretty interesting. This is to Dr. Varvani. How do you cope with death? Because I know that as a doctor, maybe like the first time you see like a patient die, like it's kind of stressful, like it could be kind of traumatizing as well. So like how was your experience with like the first time you saw a patient die?
I
I
think it's
love to
gone for a bit because it's running late. So
Did he leave? Okay. It's okay. Let's just proceed to the next question then. All right. So to Tracy, what was it like finally getting into medical school? Like what was your first like first thoughts about it? How did you feel?
I was ecstatic because, like, as I said, it was like my childhood dream, and like it was so sudden when it was just actually really sudden. Like, I just opened the online portal where I applied one day, like so randomly, and then I saw that it's like, congratulations, you've been accepted, and I was like overwhelmed with emotions. I cried. I immediately told everyone I know about it, and it was just a rush of emotions. And then you get into med school and you're like, okay, it's a new world, but the emotions are still warranted. Like, I'm not dismissing it.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Okay, so I have a question to Agnes. So how was your CGPA and grades? And was the interview is hard because when we want to enroll to Malaysia medical school, you have to go into an interview first.
Yeah. For my because we don't calculate CGPAs for med school, but for college, I did my college in a medical university. My CGPA was 3.99, and then I changed to Taylor's after that because I didn't like my college, and but when I had my interview in Taylor's, our doctors were actually really friendly. He was chatting so that I won't feel so nervous. He was chatting with me while asking some questions. The interview was more of like, they won't ask you scientific questions. They will just ask stuff about you, like why did you want to study medicine? What will you do when someone is about, when you are when your patient dies? What will you do? How will you comfort the family? They ask questions like that. It wasn't that bad, I think, personally for me.
All right, thank you. So actually someone asked Agnes, what kind of doctor do you want to be? And do you want to be a surgeon?
Yes, I want to become a gynae in the future if I can. Yeah. But it's subject to change as I discover more specialists that like more aspects. I think it's subjective to change.
All right, thank you. So I actually have a question because like you're studying at Taylor's University. So what exactly made you choose Taylor's University over like other universities? Like what were the factors that you considered in making your decision?
For me, I actually think that the environment of the school is a very big factor for me because, for example, the library and all the facilities. And I think that Taylor have a very nice library, and the facility is rated as first in Malaysia, if I'm not wrong. So I think it's quite good, and I get to use a lot of facilities here as compared to other university because for other university that I was previously in, we had a lot of students, but the facility were very limited. So I kind of don't like it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just curiosity, like how's Taylor's clinical school is like at the Sungai Buloh thing?
Sungai Buloh.
Yeah,
Um,
just curiosity for my own.
you mean the school or the syllabus or the doctors?
All the schools, like the environment is quite
Uh-huh.
different or not, or what?
We have they started they built this new place few years ago, 2 years ago, I think. So it's quite new, and because it's only for medical student, right? So it's a very big space that, considering the amount of students that we have to the space. I mean, yeah, to Taylor's, and we also have a lot of facilities. So every one of us actually get to have one, like one mummy also. Yeah, and I like that a lot. And because Taylor's, the grouping for Taylor's is not that big. It's just like at most 60 to 70 students, or maybe like 50, 40 students per class. So the doctors actually get to teach each and every one student, instead of like, if you have too many people in one class, the attention of the doctor cannot teach everyone. That's the pros of Taylor's, I think. It's a smaller group compared to other universities.
Right, thank you for that response. So someone just asked, based on the competition, is it hard to get into medical school in Taylor's? What are the chances?
I think it's not that hard to get into Taylor's medical school, or actually, as long as you reach the targeted CGPA, you can enter any med school in Malaysia. But for the interview, right, it's not that hard to pass, but you just don't have to say weird stuff. Yeah, and then yeah, don't worry.
So like speaking of interviews, any advice on how to give a good response?
Oh, just be true. Seriously, don't make up weird stories, and because the doctors, oh, this one sure is like coming out with another new stories. Yeah, just like be true. Say what you think.
Okay, thank you. I have a questions to Tracy. What is the most difficult thing about being a med student?
I think it's like managing your time, because there is a lot of things to do and you only have 24 hours in a day, and sometimes you feel like 24 hours is not enough to do everything you want to do in your personal life and in your school life. But obviously as you go on in the years, you get used to it and you become better at managing your time. But trust me when I say, like, you get a mental breakdown like at least once a week, because you feel so overwhelmed with everything that is going on. And for me, I get homesick a lot. Like, I'm such a homebody. I love being around my family. So at least once a week I get homesick and I cry. But you cry and you move on because you're human, so you have to allow yourself to feel things. And then you just pick yourself up and you move on.
All right, thank you, Tracy. To Agnes, is there anything you need to prepare for med school interviews?
No, but then if you want to practice medicine in Malaysia, you need to have your SPM, PM, and sejarah. Yeah, that's the only thing that you need to prepare.
What if some of us is taking IGCSE? So they also need to have to pass history and Malay language, right?
Yeah, I'm also an IGCSE student. So I took my SPM last year, but because of the COVID situation, it was moved to February this year. Yeah, you can actually complete your SPM within the 5 years anytime you want. Just go and do it. But I would advise to take it in the first 2 years because once you enter clinical phase, it gets very busy, and on top of all the busyness, you want to do SPM. It's a very tedious work. So try to do your SPM before you enter med school or the first or second year of med school.
Okay, so this is the same question that we asked just now to Tracy, but Agnes, how many hours a day do you usually study?
It depends on the posting that I'm doing, because some posting or some system is like respiratory system, digestive system. So some system they have more free time, but some systems are very packed. So if for packed system, usually I was like GIT, I'll study for like 6 hours, 7 hours a day. Actually, I didn't really calculate it, but when I finished my class, then I will study until I finish all the lectures that were taught on the day. It will take around 6 or 7 hours. If it's a lot of classes that day, maybe it's like 9 or 10 hours. Yeah. But if it's for systems that are more light, I think 4 or 5 hours, 3 or 4 hours.
Okay, thank you. I have a question to Tracy also. So have you ever regretted the day you got into med school?
Sorry, please repeat.
Yeah, have you ever regretted the day you got into a medical school?
No, never.
Okay, so I think this question I can address to Agnes also. Yeah, have you ever regret?
No, I've never regretted getting into med school.
Okay,
And I
thank
kind
you.
of grew fond to, I kind of like it more and more.
All right, so good news, guys. Jerry is here. He's in the call right now, so we can actually continue with the talk. So I would like to introduce Jerry Tan, who is a first-year medical student at the University of St. Andrews. So Jerry, you can share your screen for your slides and you can begin.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Very sorry about this, guys. Yeah, yesterday night was a bit wild and I fractured my knee actually. Sorry. So kind of went to the hospital today. So sorry about this. And yeah, let's jump straight into it. So like Emily said, thank you for the introduction. I'm Jerry and I'm a first year medical student at the University of St. Andrews. And we're kind of like in a small fishing village up north. And yeah, established in 1413. So this is me and my friends. I went to secondary school in Sri and during this time, I developed my interest in the biological sciences. And I got a few grades that I needed. And I also went to College Tuanku Jaffa, which I did A-levels in biology, chemistry, maths, and history, and EPQ. And from this onwards, I kind of just leapt into medical school. So what is the transition from sixth form to medical school like? Well, I kind of personally found this hard because back in sixth form, you could cram your subject, you could cram everything. There is something called, you can cram all of your you can memorize all the mark schemes, try and memorize the exam techniques a few hours or a few weeks before the exam. But in medical school, it doesn't work like this. Past year papers don't exist here in medical school. So studying habits is more of a constant studying technique. So methods like active recall, Anki, and like constant revising is what you need in medical school. And cramming the night before, I can assure you, will never work here. And in medical school, independent learning is very highly valued because in the next slide, I'll show you what my week kind of looks like. So usually I'll have 20 hours of contact hours. So that's lectures and practicals. But then the recommended independent learning hours is 30 to 35 hours. So it's actually more than what the medical school gives you in terms of contact hours. But in sixth form, it's mostly the teacher, you going to classes and the teacher telling you what to do, and also you revising a little in your free time. But in medical school, most of the learning you do is actually from your own, just going to the library, getting books, going to websites and watching YouTube videos. And finally, procrastination is your number one enemy. So please don't procrastinate. I'm kind of far behind. I'm a few lectures behind, and it is very tough here. So once you get your stuff, once you get your lectures, do the notes really quick and don't fall behind. So this is kind of what my week kind of looks like. So this was not long ago. It was just like maybe like last week, yeah. And so as you can see, there's quite a lot of self-study time here. Can you guys see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay, so there's quite a lot of self-study time here. And you see, Friday is just a whole day of self-study. So this kind of shows how important the school wants you to think of self-study. And the ones in pink are lectures. So we have white blood cells, structure of proteins, heart and circulation, blood vessels and lymphatics, structure of proteins, and the greens are practicals, actually. And we have two 2-hour-long practicals every week. This is a dissection. This is a histology practical. So histology is kind of like looking at slides and examining the cells. And the one in blue is about clinical skills. So teaching you about how to communicate with patients and that kind of shit. All right. So this is why I chose medicine, and there are a few reasons why. First, I love the sciences and the biological sciences of it. And throughout A levels, human biology and like the muscle contraction or maybe like cell functions really interested me. But the ecology and like plant transports and those kind of subjects never really interested me. So that is kind of how I gauge how I really like medicine, because it is I was really interested with those subjects or those topics. And I just thought to myself, hey, maybe we could do this maybe we could pursue somewhere along the lines of like these subjects, maybe biological sciences or medicine. I'm not sure yet. But then if you're not sure about medicine, this is the one tip I can give to you. Do as much job shadowing as possible. So if you need job shadowing opportunities, just drop me an email. I'll put my email in like the chat later. This is my school email, so you can just email me. I'll give you a few contacts in KL. Is everyone based in KL here?
No, actually, we are from like different places. So.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my contacts are based in KL. So if you still want them, just drop me an email, all right? Yeah, so back to it. So next up, medicine is a course that is a career that allows you to learn as you go. It's actually required for you to learn as you go, because here in the UK, every 5 years, you have your reaccreditation from a GMC. So that means they just want to know you're on track, on top of your game. So you need to keep learning. And it's not just a job where you learn one thing in university or in your job and you keep it through life. Medicine is dynamic. It changes almost every day or every year with new discoveries. So you need to always be on top of your game and know what is the best techniques or like the best new treatments. And although it's a demanding career path, I'd say it's quite demanding actually. I'm in week 3 and I could feel the pressures of medical school already. But ultimately, it's really rewarding because as a doctor, you'll be exposed to patients who were at their lowest point. So what you need to do actually is to help them and guide them and help to alleviate pain actually, and help ultimately try and cure them and help cure them of the disease they have. So because of this, you could see the progression. There are some doctors, like most of the doctors, you could see a progression of the patient getting better. And this is very rewarding and very satisfying. And this is also why I chose medicine. And finally, I wanted to help people. And I feel like this is the most important thing that you should take away. And if you want to help people and better society through developing your skills and knowledge in medicine, I strongly suggest you go into medicine. So the top part is actually what I wrote for my interview preps for medicine. And in the bottom part, I made my friends write, why would you want to be a doctor? Like a contrast of what you shouldn't do in medical school interviews. So the top part there is just the standard interview questions, just prepping for it. So this is the intro and the perfect blend of the arts and sciences, the art of medicine. So talk about my job sharing opportunities. So the EPQ is kind of like a 5,000 word essay I wrote about describing how I was talked about the cystic fibrosis. And yeah, it's kind of just an interest I did. And talk about harsh realities and the books I read. And also just a little interview tip. When they ask you these questions, like, why do you want to be a doctor? Like, it's important to tell them why you want to be a doctor, like the reasons I listed above. But it's also important to state to them that you understand that being a doctor is harsh, is hard, it will be challenging, but you'll be up for the challenge. So this is what I did here. Because they want, one of the criteria is that in the GMC is that students recognize the challenges faced by doctors and medical students here. So by being able to explicitly tell them that you understand these struggles, it will be a plus. So at the bottom is what you shouldn't do as a interviewer. Please don't say that you want to be a doctor because it earns well. It doesn't earn well. When I graduate for the first 2 years, I'll be in my foundation year training for 2 years, kind of like housemanship. Now I'll be earning as much as a bus driver for the first 2 weeks. So it doesn't earn well. So please don't do it if your mom or your dad told you to be a doctor. It won't end well, trust me on this. When you're in medical school and you're struggling with some work in 3 a.m., it's a willpower that'll push you through, not your mom telling you to do medicine. And if your parents, if you're choosing medicine because anyone is kind of, but not persuading, like kind of forcefully making you make the decision, I think maybe you should talk to them and try and understand the perspective and tell them why medicine is not for you or for you. Yeah, don't go into medicine because like wearing lab coats or actually have no idea why you're doing medicine. So yeah. Also, if you guys want my interview prep like list that I made when I interviewed for medical school, just drop me an email. I'll send it out to you guys. Okay, so who should pursue medicine? And conversely, who shouldn't? First, pursue medicine if you really love helping people. So as a doctor, you'll primarily be working with sick patients and people who are the most vulnerable in the most vulnerable moments. And you have to have the empathy and the patience to understand them and help them. Because some patients at these vulnerable moments will be frustrated, some will be emotional. And if you love helping people and genuinely want to see them get better, please go into medicine. And the next step kind of follows up to the point's really nice, is that the previous point is that don't go into medicine if money is your main motivation. So if you want to earn money, sure, medicine does pay well later down in life, but you have to go through much more studying before you could actually realistically earn well. But medicine, I would say, is not monetarily rich you get, but you actually just get mentally rich maybe, because you get so much experiences going into the hospital. Every day is different, and you enrich your experiences. But if money is your main issue, sorry to say, medicine may not be the best choice. And realistically, it wouldn't work well, because if money is is your main motivation, med school will be really challenging. And go into medicine if you're determined and resilient. The journey to becoming a qualified doctor is really arduous, and you really won't it will be really tough in medical school, and you need to know that you'll be determined and you'll push through this. And it's also the same as a doctor. A doctor has crazy working hours, especially in A&E or foundation year doctors or junior doctors. So you need to have a strong will. You need to be resilient with this, and in order to succeed as a doctor. And finally, it kind of relates back to the second point, which is that it's you alone that chose to go to medical school and not anyone else. Although you can have some you can be inspired by someone. You can be, you can be inspired by a doctor or family member. That's perfectly fine. But please, when you decide to apply to medical school, please know that it's your own decision and not anyone else's. So now I'm just going to talk about like getting into medical school and like some stuff, which is that if you're applying to medical school, apply strategically and prepare strategically and take as much time as you need to perfect your medical school application. And research your schools when you apply. So I say this because in the UK, if you want to apply to the UK, you only get 4 choices, and you're going to get 4 choices, and you have to apply strategically according to your admission test UCAT score. And there's no point applying to a school where the cutoff is way above your UCAT score. So look carefully. And also look at schools and how their interview formats are. Maybe you prefer a traditional interview, or maybe you prefer an MMI interview. So look into these and thoroughly research them. And research the schools when applying is also useful during interview preps as well, because you can kind of, by researching the school, you can kind of understand what the main focus of that school is, like what do they value highly. So in St. Andrews, they value highly communication skills and how well you communicate. So, and that is what they will mainly focus in medical school as well. So by researching that, maybe you can prepare well in advance and anticipate some questions. And finally, don't give up when you get a rejection. I personally got 2 rejections from Oxford and Imperial when I applied, but applied this year. And so don't give up hope. Eventually, if you are determined to get into medicine, you will get into medicine, regardless of how long the pathway is. It is a marathon, it's not a sprint. It's 6 years, and it's 6 years in here and many more years as a doctor. So yeah, don't give up. And these are the things of not what to do. You shouldn't do these. And first is, don't underestimate the importance of admission tests. So admission tests like the UCAD, the BMAT, and I don't know what's the graduate. I think it's the GAMSAT. Don't underestimate these admission tests. They are very important. And in schools, some schools, they look a lot into these admission test exams. I know that like University Malaya, the BMAT is very important there. I think like you need a minimum score of maybe 4.5 or 5 in order to get into the interview stage. And that's also how medical schools in the UK work as well. They usually set a minimum cutoff, maybe 2,800 in the UCAT. And anyone below that won't be called into interview. So apply strategically and prepare strategically as well. And you take as much time as you need to prepare for the admission test. I think the BMAT is coming up. So if you're taking the BMAT, yeah, prep now. So also one thing that's easy to like look over is that because you'll be so focused and like in your head about applying to medical school during this time, you might also neglect your studies as well. And my advice to you is that don't neglect them. Although it shouldn't be your, I don't want to say this, but it should be your focus. But getting to medical school, I understand during this time, applying and preparing for interviews is your main focus right now. But also just keep in mind that like just get on top of your work. Just revise a little here and there, so you won't, when it comes to A-level time, you won't be cramming everything maybe a month or 2 before, which is what I did, because I kind of fell behind and I didn't really pay attention or like keep track of my A-level studies while I was applying to medicine. And let me just tell you that it ain't fine. The catching up is always not that fun. So keep on track of it. Learn as you go. And finally is that don't go into medicine if you think it'll pay well, which is kind of like what I touched. The stress and workload is not worth it. So these are just some snippets of my life in uni. So these are some like textbooks. They're very heavy. So Guyton and Hall, Morris, and like medical sciences. I think, yeah, these textbooks are very heavy. And this is one of the traditions in St. Andrews where you go pier walking. It's literally just a strip of land into the sea, and you wear red gowns in your wall. And this is the medicine library, actually. So now you can ask me anything if you want. I'm aware of the time, but if anyone has questions, I maybe can take them.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Jerry, for that talk. Actually, there is one question addressed to you. So the question is, how was the application process for getting into the University of St. Andrews in your case? And what were your other university options? I think you did mention somewhere during your presentation, but maybe you could repeat for the sake of the participants.
Okay, yeah, sure. I applied in, wait, let me just check the time. What year is it? 2021, sorry. I applied in 2021. And I applied to Oxford, Imperial, St. Andrews, and Queen's Belfast. I got rejected from, I got pre-interviewed, rejected from Oxford. I got post-interview rejected from Imperial. And I got 2 offers from St. Andrews and Queen's Belfast. And yeah, if you want to know my UCAT and my VMAT scores, just email me. And how was the application process like to University of St. Andrews? So first, like you have to take the UCAT. So I took my UCAT back in back in the September I was applying. So I guess like 2020 September. I got a score of 2810. So because of this, I kind of applied strategically. So I applied to schools that like their cutoff is a bit lower. So St. Andrews, I think their cutoff is 2,600, 2,650, something like that. So that's why I kind of chose to apply to it. Because schools like Bristol or King's or maybe Edinburgh, their cutoff are way too high for me. So I said there's realistically no chance of me getting into those schools. So I kind of just applied to the school. And yeah, after you sit for UCAT, they'll usually, if you qualify through the, if the medical admission team like your application profile, they look at your personal statement, they look at your references, they look at your UCAT cutoff score, they look at your A-level grades and your GCSE or IGCSE or SPM grades. And if you meet their criteria, they'll call you for an interview. An interview usually be in February to March. I got mine in late February. And yeah, in the interview, it's an MMI station style interview. There'll be a few stations where you have to go through MMIs, and they'll test a range of skills like your knowledge in medical ethics and communication skills, role play, and like problem solving questions, like the standard MMI questions. And so yeah, after this, it's just hope I got an offer. But one thing I'll do say is that, what's this? I don't have a girlfriend, but not interested right now, sorry. One thing I'll do say is that St. Andrews, there is a foundation scheme program here for medicine. I personally didn't know about this, but what is it basically is that you can do your foundation in medicine here. And after that, you just take the UCAT and interview. If you pass both of them, you can join the medicine course. And if there's something you're interested in, you just type in St. Andrews Foundation in Medicine. And yeah, just look at it. Because I have a few of my juniors actually, a few of my juniors from my secondary school doing foundation in medicine in St. Andrews. I don't know if you guys know Pei from Sri KU. She, from KL as well. She is doing foundation in medicine here. And I just saw her a few days ago. Yeah. But there's much more Malaysians doing it. And if you do need any contacts, just drop me an email. I'll just send my email right now. Yeah, that's my school email. And if you need anything, just drop me an email.
All right, thank you, Jerry. We do have a few additional questions, but since the time is running out, we will just email you the questions, and after you reply with like the responses, we will post it probably on our Instagram if possible. I think that's like one way. So if any of the participants have any additional questions for any of the speakers, you can add them in the Slido and we will compile them into an Instagram post where you guys can read the responses.
Emily, I'm actually like fine with like staying on, like if they want to ask me any questions.
Oh, yeah, because like
okay. Yeah, all right. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so Yeah, those were some great questions, guys. I guess we could end the event here.
Okay, so there's a link in the chat box right now to our post-event feedback survey. So it would be great if everyone could fill that in with a lot. Yeah, and this is you can also scan this QR code to the survey also. Okay, so if you would like to have your questions answered privately, you may reach out to us at our official email that is also sent in the chat box. Okay, I think just now Emily already mentioned this. Okay, so our email is tlmedicalclub@gmail.com. So yeah, moderator. Okay.
Yep. Also, do make sure to check out TLPMC social media pages, which you can see on the screen, and it should be sent in the chat box. Yep, it's there. So as part of our MedLight campaign, we actually have 2 more events coming very soon. So do stay tuned for more and check out for any updates on our latest events. So make sure to follow our Instagram for any updates, and we hope to see you there.
So I just want to say thank you to all the guest speakers for taking their time off their busy schedule to join us today. It has been such a pleasure today. Thank you everyone for your time today, and we hope to see you in our upcoming event as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.